Wait, this is a dog. Hey! Hello everybody! My name is Dwayne and welcome to Stories from My Bedroom! Today's story is a story about a girl superhero who not only saves her own life, but the lives of her entire race, the Jews. This is the story of Esther.
I'm ready.
What are you wearing and why?
I'm playing Giselle. I just came from the zoo.
The story of Esther, not Easter. Many years ago in Persia, there lived an orphan girl, Esther. She was looked after by her cousin, Mordicai. They were both Jews.
Freshly squeezed juice, bottled and ready to drink.
Emmanuel, wrong juice.
The Persians didn't like the Jews. In fact, the Jews were living in exile. But one day, the king wanted to find a wife, and so he decided to hold a beauty contest.
Hear ye. The king is looking for a wife. All the most beautiful women in the province are to follow me.
Esther was one of them. But before she left, Mordecai told her to keep her nationality a secret. Shh. The girls were brought to enjoy beauty treatments to prepare them for the pageant.
Welcome, ladies. Are you ready to be beautiful? Yes. 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 I'm ready.
The girls were given the most splendid treatments, facials, milk baths, massages. But Esther found favor in the eyes of the eunuch Hegai. He gave her special treatment.
Follow exactly what I say, and I guarantee the king will fall in love with you.
He moved Esther and her maids to a special place in the harem.
Good afternoon, miss. Are you enjoying your time with us? Would you like chicken or beef with juice?
What?
Juice?
No.
No juice?
Oh, juice.
Yes, juice from the fruit.
Every day, Mordecai would meet Esther by the gate near the harem to get more updates from her.
How's everything?
Going well. I'm treated like a queen.
Remember, don't tell anyone your secret.
And finally, it was the day of the beauty pageant!
Honorable King Xerxes, ladies and gentlemen of the royal court, presenting the ladies.
Don't you know that you're beautiful, just the way you are, just the way you came. Don't you know that you're beautiful, no matter what the scars, no matter what they say, and we'll shout it out louder.
She, her, what's her name? Her name is Esther. Esther, I have made my choice. You will be my queen.
And so Esther was crowned the new queen of Persia.
And they all live happily ever after.
No. Now, enter the villain.
Jang, jang, jang.
The king promoted Hamen to be the most powerful official in the empire. All the king's officials had to bow before Hamen whenever they saw him. One day, while Hamen was making his rounds around the province, he noticed Mordecai. He was expecting Mordecai to bow before him, But Mordecai did not budge. He refused to bow before Haman.
How dare you refuse to not bow to me? I will only bow down to the God of Israel. Then now, I'll give you one more chance. Never!
Psst. You're not the villain. Okay, Noah, not so over, please.
I will never bow down to you!
Haman was furious. He found out the nationality of Mordecai. Mordecai was a Jew. Now Haman's rage and anger led him to plot to kill all the Jews, including Mordecai. Haman hatched a plan.
My king, there's a group of people who disobey the law. They must be punished. So what do you have in mind, Haman?
Haman knew that Mordecai was a Jew, and so he wanted to wipe out all the Jews.
Now, what for you already?
Emmanuel.
Something needed to be done. Letters were exchanged between Mordecai and Esther and Mordecai.
I don't know what I can do, Mordecai.
Don't think you're safe in the palace. If they find out you're a Jew, they will kill you.
But I'm scared, cousin.
For such a time like this, you must make a stand.
Esther knew that something must be done. She told Mordecai to tell all the Jews not to eat or drink for 3 days. She too would do the same and pray and come up with a plan. Esther needed to see the king. But you see, the law at that time stated that no one was allowed to see the king unless the king called for you. If anyone just barged into the throne room, it would be
Off with his head!
Esther did not have the luxury of time. So she plucked up her courage and went to face the king. Esther barged through the door. The king sat on his throne looking at Esther in the distance. There was tension in the air. But the king picked up his scepter, pardoning Esther for barging in. You see, the king really loved Esther, and Esther found favor with the king.
What's wrong, Esther?
If it pleases the king, I would like to call for a banquet with you and Hamen.
Oh, that's it? A banquet it is then. We have some juice.
What?
Fresh fruit juice is in season now.
So Esther, the king, and Haman had dinner together. But Esther did not say anything to the king. Instead, she invited the king and Haman for another banquet. Haman was delighted. He thought he had found favor with a royal couple because he had been invited to another banquet. On his way home, however, he noticed Mordecai by the palace gates. The sight of Mordecai sickened him. Haman went back and told his wife all about the wonderful news about the second banquet. He also told his wife about Mordecai and how he was angry at Mordecai and furious that Mordecai did not want to bow to him. Haman's wife had a plan. She suggested to sharpen a pole, and when the time was right, to tell the king to hang Mordecai on the pole. That night, the king had a dream. He recalled an incident where Mordecai foiled the plans of 2 murderers that tried to kill him. He realized that he had not thanked or honored Mordecai for doing so. So, he summoned for Haman. He wanted to bounce off some ideas on how he could reward Mordecai.
So, Haman, how do I show honor and respect to this man?
Haman thought the king was referring to him and his brilliant idea of exterminating the Jews.
Give him your finest clothes, put him on your best horse, and parade him around your kingdom.
The king was pleased with Haman's suggestion and told Haman to carry out everything that he had suggested to Mordicai.
They what? You've got to be kidding me.
And that's exactly what Hamen had to do. Oh, he was so humiliated. His wife and his advisors warned him that the plan to kill Mordicai might not work since Mordicai had saved the king's life.
I think cannot.
At the second banquet, Esther finally revealed what she had wanted to say to the king.
I have a favor, my king.
Anything for you.
Please spare my life and my people. We are in danger.
You are?
I am a Jew.
Jang, jang, jang.
The wicked Haman had sent a decree to kill all my people and had tricked you into signing the decree.
The king was furious. He stormed off to cool down. Now Haman was petrified. He got down on his knees and started pleading with Esther. He grabbed onto her clothes and refused to let her go.
Please don't punish me.
Just then, the king returned. He saw this in front of his own eyes. He thought that Haman was trying to be funny with his queen.
Guts, take him away. Oh no!
Haman was taken away to be hung on the very pole that he had prepared for Mordecai. Now, as for the Jews, the law couldn't be changed, but the king wrote a new law.
The Jews will be able to defend themselves and kill any of their enemies and claim their property for themselves.
When that time came, the Jews stood their ground and successfully fought off all their enemies. The king promoted Mordecai to become the prime minister and rule the country alongside him. Esther was an ordinary girl, but made an extraordinary difference in challenging circumstances. She stood her ground when the going got tough. She faced her fears, and because of that, she was able to save the entire race of Jews from being completely wiped out.
Emmanuel, what are you doing?
I'm setting the Jews free.
The end.
I hope you enjoyed this epic story about the superhero girl Esther. See you next time for more stories from my bedroom. Good night. Dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-bum, bum.
Go. I will never bow down to you.
Good night.